Welcome back to another Gumloop tutorial. Today we're going to be taking a look at the categorizer node. And this is obviously one of the AI nodes. And so if you want to look for it, we could start by either clicking into using AI and we can scroll down to find the categorizer, or we can simply type in categorizer up here at the search bar. And so what this really is useful for is it can categorize, obviously, categorize information into different buckets based off whatever it's receiving. And so you typically is going to receive some sort of text field, and then based off that text field, the AI is going to analyze it and determine which bucket it best fits in. And so we're going to show you how to do this, but first let's take a look at the node itself. So the content to categorize, this is where your text input is going to go into. And so, if you think about this, you can, hook it up to anything, but categorize this text. Okay. Additional content, this can be what was this coming from? What is this? All different sorts of stuff, or any different instructions about how you want to categorize this. It's just extra data that the AI is going to use to help categorize the actual content that you want categorized. The include justification, this is handy in a lot of different situations. One of the examples that I'm going to show you is categorizing emails into different buckets. And so if you want to keep track of why did it categorize this email as whatever, you can include the justification and you can save that. That becomes an output that you can then save to use later on. And I'll show you how we kind of use that later on. Categories. These are the actual categories, the different buckets that this AI is going to utilize and put that information into, or say, okay, if in the event this is an email, it's going to say, okay, let's put this email into this category, or let's put it into this category. And so you have your category names, and then you have the category description, which is going to help the AI understand better what this category is and what would fit into this category. And you can add as many as you want. So you can add a bunch. The next is the model. Obviously, we have the advanced, we have the expert, we have the standard models. And so you can always go ahead and look here up at the top to figure out how much does it cost to run this for each different model. The ones that I've used, we use the 4.1, or we use the, I think it's the 4.1 mini is the one that we use. And these other ones, yeah, 4.1 mini. So there's that. And then show more options. You can change the temperature. So if you want, this is basically like how, what is the decision making capabilities? Do you want this to be more focused and more consistent, or do you want it to be a little bit more random, creative, or varied? And so this is a 0 to 1, 0 being more consistent, 1 being more varied. And then you can configure the inputs and you can change the model preference and the temperature if you really want to dynamically through here as an input. And then cache responses, this is going to be for saving in responses that can be used later on if you want. All right, so now that we have explored the basic node, all the different pieces that make up this node and how to think about each individual piece of the node, let's go ahead and move on to our first example. And so this workflow is a workflow that I have used for my own emails to just understand some different stuff. And this also helps me understand how that email should be used, right? So for ours, when a customer emails us, we might want to add them to HubSpot based on some different stuff. And then if they're already in HubSpot or whatever. We also want to create tickets. So anytime a customer contacts us, I want to create a ticket of that conversation. That way we can recall that and we can automatically, include that into emails or whatever that's being generated. it just kind of helps the context of automatically or having an AI automatically create a follow-up communication. And so we're not going to be looking at this total flow here, but instead we're just going to be taking a look at how we utilize the categorizer AI within this flow. So this is a real world flow that we built out for myself, and we've built out for other users or other customers of ours as well. So when we look at here, we can see the additional context. We can also see the content to categorize. And if you're familiar with some of my other videos, you'll see a very similar theme here, how I structure this data. So first we get the sender email address, we're getting the email subject, the actual email body, and then the thread if it is available. So if this was a response or a reply from a reply from a reply from a whatever, we get all those different emails through this through the thread. And then so then we have the additional context. So in this one here, we're summarizing each email and determine if this email could result in a sale opportunity, partnership, or referral source. If so, categorize it as create contact. If this appears to be spam or something unrelated, categorize this as should ignore. And so in this flow here, we've already seen that the email was from someone who was not included in our HubSpot. So we found contact, it came back empty, and so we are going to go ahead and create it if we think the email is correct or is something worth going ahead and pursuing. And so we have the categories should ignore. So the sender of the email should not be saved to HubSpot, and create contact. This email should trigger the save new email to HubSpot subflow, which is another subflow down here. That is one way that you could use it, is you could simply have it update some value within the Google Sheet. There is another thing that you could do with this categorizer as well, which we'll look at on the next workflow here. So this is a variation of it that I created for this tutorial video, basically the exact same workflow, but I've wrapped the entire categorizer in an if-else statement. And so what you could do with this here is, if you have the different categories here, what you can do is at the top here, you could have the selected category and the text could equal should ignore. So if it is should ignore, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this version over here. In this case here, I don't want it to do anything at all. That is what I'm telling this. So just stop there. But if it's not should ignore, and in this case, that would mean it is create contact, we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue the workflow. So this is a very simple, basic idea of understanding the categorizer node. There's a lot of different things that you can do and expand upon. If you have any questions or you want to know how it could be used in a different situation, go ahead and ask those questions down in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching this tutorial video on how to use the categorizer node and the basics around it. I look forward to seeing you all on the next video. Bye.